At 2-something a.m., my phone lit up with a tag that didn't just show a lap. It showed a lie with a smile. I didn't call her, didn't beg, didn't argue with my own eyes. I ended the wedding before she could come home and sell me a story. I was half awake on the couch, boots still by the door like I might need to move fast. The house was dark and quiet in that way that makes you hear your own pulse. Ashley was supposed to be driving back from her Bachelorette weekend in Whitefish. It was after 2:17, 2:23, something like that. Time blurred by the kind of waiting that feels stupid even while you're doing it. My phone buzzed once, bright and rude against the dark. Facebook. Brittany Johnson tagged you in a photo. I stared at it like it was a misfire. Brittany was Ashley's college roommate. Always loud, always filming, always performing. The photo loaded slowly, line by line, like it wanted to make sure I understood every detail. Timberwolf Lounge. Neon. A booth. Ashley in a tight black dress, sitting sideways on a man's lap like it was the most natural place in the world. His hand was high on her thigh. Too comfortable, too claimed. Her smile wasn't drunk happy. I was proud. Like the camera was an accomplice. Like I wasn't even a person with a name. My first instinct was to move. Stand up, pace, do something loud. Instead, training kicked in. In through the nose. Hold. Out slow. Again. The noise in my head went quiet, and something colder slid into place. I took a screenshot. Then another, closer, cropped tight enough to keep the excuses out. Her face. His hand. The location tag. The timestamp. Every piece that mattered. I didn't call her. Calling is for negotiations. This wasn't that. I opened my own Facebook, hit post, and attached the screenshot. My fingers didn't shake. My heart didn't race. Felt like writing a report. Caption, wedding's off. Don't ask me why. Look, I hit publish. For a second the screen just sat there, innocent and flat. Then the notifications started to stack, likes, comments, shock, questions, people trying to turn it into entertainment. I didn't read them. I didn't know anyone a performance. I set the phone face down on the coffee table and went to the kitchen. On top of the fridge sat the bourbon her dad gave me 2 weeks ago, smiling like a banker with a handshake. For our big day, he'd said. I poured 2 fingers into a glass and didn't toast anything. I drank once, slowly, and let the burn do what it does. Make you feel the edges again. Back in the living room, the silence came back heavier. Not lonely, clean, final. And in that quiet, every moment from the last few months marched into formation. Late nights, vague answers, the way she'd angle her phone away, the little irritation when I asked simple questions. Things I'd ignored because I wanted peace, because I wanted the future. Now the future was done and the targets were clear. I sat in the dark with the bourbon and let the truth line up. The lock clicked at 5:43. I didn't move. I was in the same spot, same glass, same dead quiet room like a checkpoint that never closes. Ashley stepped in like she owned the air. Hair messy, mascara faintly smudged, phone in hand like it was a shield. Tequila rode in with her. Sharp, sugary, trying to cover up something sour underneath. She stopped when she saw me sitting there. "What is wrong with you?" she snapped, voice already loaded. Not scared, not sorry, angry like I'd committed the crime. I didn't answer fast. Silence makes people fill it with truth. She tossed her keys into the bowl by the door hard enough to clang. "You posted that. You humiliated me. Do you realize what you just did?" I nodded once, slow. "Yeah. That picture, Jack, are you serious?" "It's nothing. Brittany tags everybody in everything. It was a stupid joke." I lifted my phone off the table and turned the screen toward her. The photo was already open, full brightness, full betrayal. Her eyes flicked to it and away like it burned. "Who is he?" I asked. She let out a laugh that tried to sound disgusted. "He's nobody. Literally, he's just the bartender." They were being dumb. I was drunk. "It's not." She waved a hand like the truth was an insect she could swat away. "You're doing that thing again, making everything into some control issue." I stood up, not fast, not threatening, just deliberate. I walked closer and zoomed in until the frame cut out all her excuses. "Bartenders don't wear that watch. I said. She blinked. What? I tapped the screen. A clean, expensive band at his wrist. Not flashy, worse. Quiet money. A man who doesn't need attention because he already has power. And his hand, I added voice even. That's not a joke hand. That's a hand that's been there before. Ashley's jaw tightened. Her eyes sharpened like she was looking for an angle. So what, you're some kind of expert now? You're insane. God, you're paranoid. Timestamp, I said. She froze. Just a small pause, half a second, but it told me everything. She'd forgotten Brittany's post would carry a clock. I turned the phone so she could see it. Then I didn't say another word. Ashley swallowed. Okay, fine. It was late. We stayed out. People were drunk. I don't know why you're acting like. For hours? I cut in, calm as stone. You weren't answering. You weren't driving. Where were you? Her eyes darted toward the hallway like she might escape into a shower. A bed. A reset. I told you. We were out. It's a bachelorette weekend. That's what people do. That's not an answer. It's my answer. I watched her shoulders lift, defensive, like she was preparing to fight a battle she'd rehearsed. You always do this, Jack. You always make me feel like I'm on trial. You are, I said, and kept my voice low. Because you're lying. Her face flashed hot. I am not. Her phone rang. The sound sliced the room open. She looked at the screen and the color drained out of her cheeks. Dad? Richard Carter. She didn't breathe for a second. Then she answered too fast, voice suddenly soft, almost childlike. Hi, Dad. I listened without leaning in. I didn't need to. I could hear Richard's tone through the speaker. Tight, controlled, the kind of quiet that meant the world was already moving. Ashley's eyes stayed on me while her father talked. Her free hand clenched, then unclenched. Dad, I know it's not he posted it, okay? She swallowed hard. It was a misunderstanding. I held my stare and didn't help her. Her voice started to crack at the edges. No, I didn't. Dad, I swear. Then she stepped away. Turning her back like that would protect her from the facts sitting in the room. I waited until the call ended. She stayed facing the wall a moment too long, collecting herself, putting the mask back on. When she turned around, her eyes had that glossy brightness. Tears trying to work as leverage. I didn't give her room. One clean question, I said. Who is he? She opened her mouth. Closed it. I opened it again. And what came out wasn't true. It was everything else. Richard Carter's Mercedes rolled up like it was on schedule, not responding to a fire he helped start. He didn't knock. He used the doorbell like a gavel, then opened the door before I even got there. Like money turns locks into suggestions. He walked in wearing a pressed coat and that banker calm that says he's never been told no without consequences. Ashley trailed behind him, eyes puffy, lips tight. She stayed close to his shoulder like it was covered. Richard took one look at my face, then the phone on the table, then back to me. Jack. Richard. He didn't ask what happened. He already knew. He just didn't like who controlled the narrative. You're going to delete that post, he said, voice flat. Immediately. I'm not. He stared like he didn't understand the concept. You don't want to do this. You're emotional. You're tired. You're going to regret it when lawyers get involved. I'm not emotional, I said. I'm accurate. Ashley made a noise, half scoff, half plea. Jack, stop. You're blowing this up. It was stupid. Okay? It was one night. Richard lifted a hand, not even looking at her, like she was background noise. His eyes stayed on me. This is a misunderstanding. People drink. Photos lie. You're going to ruin her over a snapshot. It's not a snapshot, I said. It's a time-stamped photo of my fiancé on another man's lap. His jaw worked once, subtle. You have a temper. People know that. Your military history. This looks exactly like the kind of controlling outburst everyone expects from a guy like you. There it was. Not defense. Offense. Make me the story so she doesn't have to be. I didn't raise my voice. Where was she for 4 hours? Richard's gaze hardened. You don't interrogate my daughter. I'm not interrogating, I said. I'm asking. Ashley stepped forward fast, like she wanted to get ahead of whatever truth might crawl out. Her hands went to her ring. She slid it off, slow and dramatic, and set it on the counter like she was returning a defective product. Fine, she said. If you want to be like this, then it's over. I didn't blink. It's over. Richard's eyes flicked to the ring, then back to me, like he'd just watched a financial loss finalize. We're leaving, he said tight, and you're going to regret what you've done. He put a hand at Ashley's back and guided her out. Not comfort, control. The door shut behind them with a soft click that felt louder than a slammed fist. The house went still again. Not peaceful. Funeral still. And on my counter, her ring sat under the kitchen light like a small, cold piece of a future that tried to betray me quietly, and failed. The next morning came in gray and blunt. I hadn't slept so much as gone offline in short, useless intervals. The bourbon was gone, replaced by coffee strong enough to scrape rust off metal. My phone stayed face down. I didn't need to read the town's opinion of my life. A knock hit the front door. Soft, polite, steady. When I opened it, Mrs. Evelyn Patterson stood there with a pie dish wrapped in foil and the kind of calm you only earn after burying people you truly loved. White hair pinned back, cardigan buttoned, eyes sharp as tacks. I baked, she said, like that explained everything. I stepped aside. Come in. She moved slow but sure, taking in the room the way older women do, seeing what's missing, not what's present. She set the pie on the counter like it belonged there. You're going to eat, she said. Not a question. I nodded once. Coffee? Yes. I poured, and she sat at the table without asking permission. That was her generation, less talk, more decisions. I sat across from her, waiting. People like Evelyn didn't come over for drama. They came over when something mattered. She wrapped her hands around the mug and looked at me straight. I saw your post. I didn't react. Okay. I'm not here to scold you. She paused, eyes narrowing slightly, like she was choosing exact words. I'm here because I should have said something sooner. The coffee heat didn't touch the cold that moved up my spine. About what? She took a breath. Ashley's Audi. The white one. I know it by the little dent near the rear bumper and that silly sticker she put on it. I've seen it parked late at night over at Riverside Heights. My jaw tightened. Riverside Heights was a cluster of nice condos and manicured sidewalks, the town's idea of upscale. Not a place you end up by accident at midnight. How late? I asked. After 10. Sometimes after 11. She sipped her coffee like this was weather, not betrayal. More than once. More than twice. I stopped counting. I kept my voice even. When you were gone, she said. Out of town. Work trips. Those weeks you told me to keep an eye on the house. My hand curled around the mug harder than it needed to. I didn't interrupt her. I didn't rush. Let the land clean. I debated telling you, Evelyn continued, but people talk, and I didn't want to be part of gossip. This isn't gossip, I said. No, she agreed firm. It's a pattern. The word hit harder than the photo. A photo is a moment. A pattern is a system, a routine, a second life that runs while you're busy building the first. Evelyn set her mug down carefully. Secrets rot good people from the inside out, she said. I've watched it happen. I didn't want that for you. I stared at the table for a second, letting the past months rearrange themselves with new gravity. Every late-night girls' dinner, every weekend work thing, every time she kissed me like she'd already left. When I looked up, Evelyn was already standing. She picked up her purse, smoothed her cardigan. Eat the pie, she ordered again. And don't let them make you feel crazy for believing what you saw. At the door she paused, turned back once. You're not wrong for wanting the truth, she said. You're only wrong if you ignore it. Then she was gone, leaving my house smelling like coffee and cinnamon. And something else. Not heartbreak, clarity. By noon, Raven Creek was already doing what small towns do best, choosing a version that made them comfortable. I could feel it in the silence of my phone, the way texts came in from people who never called me before. Not, "Are you okay?" But "What happened?" Like my life was a show and they wanted the plot. I didn't answer any of it. Instead, I called Matt Hernandez. Matt owned the watering hole and treated information the way a mechanic treats tools. Kept it organized, kept it useful, and didn't get sentimental about it. He was also one of the few guys in town who didn't confuse volume with strength. He showed up 20 minutes later, face set, eyes clear. Took one look at me and the coffee and the untouched pie. "You look like you're running on fumes," he said. "I'm running on purpose." He nodded like that made sense. "The town's already twisting it." I figured. Matt leaned against the counter, arms crossed. "They're saying you snapped. That you've been controlling. That Ashley was scared to come home. Brittany's running her mouth. Painting you like a ticking bomb." I didn't flinch. "I'm not playing that game." "I know." His eyes flicked to my phone. "But they are." I picked it up and slid it across the counter to him. The photo was already zoomed in where it mattered. Ashley's smile, the man's hand, the angle of his wrist. "Do you recognize him?" I asked. Matt didn't touch the phone right away. He looked like he wanted to tell me no just to spare me. But Matt wasn't built for lying. He took the phone, stared, then zoomed a fraction closer. His jaw tightened. "Yeah," he said quietly. "I know him." The air in the kitchen went heavier. "Name," I said. Matt exhaled through his nose. "Logan Pierce." The name landed clean. Not some random stranger. Not a bartender. Person. Matt handed the phone back like it weighed more now. "Regional manager. That insurance company up off Highway 9. Your girl works under him, doesn't she?" My throat went tight. "She does." Matt's face stayed hard. "He's married." I didn't speak. I let him keep going. "2 kids," Matt added. "Good public image. Church guy when it's convenient. The kind of dude who shakes hands like he's doing you a favor." The anger in me didn't flare. It was reorganized. Like a fire that stops being wild and becomes controlled heat. "How sure are you?" I asked. Matt's eyes didn't waver. "I've seen him drink at private events. He's got that same watch. Same posture. Same, I can do what I want vibe." I nodded once, slow. "Okay." Matt watched my face. "What are you gonna do?" I stared at the photo again, but I wasn't looking at Ashley anymore. I was looking at the structure. Connections. Pressure points. The way lies hold together until you pull the right bolt. "I'm going to stop the truth from costing me my name," I said. Matt's mouth tightened like he approved but didn't love it. "People are gonna say you're doing this for revenge." "I'm not doing it for entertainment," I said. "I'm doing it because they're trying to make me the villain in my own life." Matt pushed off the counter. "If you need something, anything, call me." "I will." He paused at the door, then looked back. "Logan Pierce plays clean in public," he said. "So whatever you do, you better be cleaner." I met his eyes. "I will be." After he left, I stood alone in the kitchen with Evelyn's pie and a name I couldn't unlearn. The photo wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was a lead. I didn't sleep that night either. Not because I was falling apart, because my brain was running checks like a unit before movement. You don't walk into a fight you don't understand. You map it first. I called Eric Shaw the next morning. Eric was a former Ranger buddy who'd traded deployments for private investigations and digital forensics out of Missoula. The kind of guy who didn't ask how you feel unless he was checking for a concussion. He picked up on the second ring. "You sound awake in the wrong way." "I need facts," I said. "Not comfortable. Send me what you've got." I forwarded the screenshot, the timestamp, the location tag, Brittany's account, everything. Then I gave him the part that mattered most. Ashley worked under Logan Pierce. Married. 2 kids. The town thinks I'm the problem. Eric went quite a beat. "How deep do you want?" "All the way." "All right," he said. "Don't do anything stupid while I'm digging." "I'm not stupid," I told him. "I'm patient." Days passed like grit between teeth. Raven Creek kept talking. Friends went cautious. Strangers got brave behind screens. Ashley stayed silent because silence buys time, and time is what liars use to rebuild their story. Then, on the fourth day, Eric sent an encrypted package. No dramatic subject line. Just read. I sat at my kitchen table and opened it like I was unsealing evidence. First, hotel receipts, Missoula, Kalispell, even a place 2 towns over where nobody accidentally ends up. Dates lined up with nights she told me she was working late or crashing at Brittany's. Next, dinner charges. Reservations under initials. A pattern of restaurants she'd never mentioned but somehow didn't like when I suggested them. Then came the messages. Not flirtation. Logistics. Times. Rooms. Excuses. Backup excuses. And the knockout blow. A thread between Ashley and Logan planning Chicago, booked right after our wedding date. While I was thinking about my honeymoon, they were building an exit route. One message wasn't just cheating. It was contempt, jokes about me, about my trust, about how easy it was to keep me steady while they moved around me. I leaned back in my chair, breathing slow, letting the cold settle in the right place. This wasn't a mistake. It was a plan. And now I had the file that proved it. Logan Pierce lived in a neighborhood built to sell the idea of stability. Perfect lawn. Trim hedges. Kids' toys in the yard are like props. A flag on the porch. The kind of place where trouble is supposed to stay outside the property line. I parked across the street and walked up like I belonged there. Not fast. Not angry. Just certain. He opened the door wearing a dress shirt with the sleeves rolled just enough to look like a working man. He smiled like he expected a delivery. That smile faded when he saw me. "Can I help you?" he asked, but his eyes were already measuring. Height, shoulders, posture. He was trying to decide what I was. "I'm Jack," I said. "Ashley Carter's fiancé." The color shifted in his face. Small, quick. He recovered just as fast. "I don't know what you think you." "I know." I cut in. I held up a flash drive between 2 fingers. "I have receipts, dates, hotels, messages. Chicago." His eyes narrowed. "You're trespassing." "I'm standing on your welcome mat," I said. "We both know you've stood in my life." He puffed up a little like arrogance was armor. "Look, man. Whatever happened, that's between you and her. Don't bring your issues here." "My issues?" I let the words sit for a second. "You're married." He leaned forward a fraction. "Watch yourself." I didn't raise my voice. That's what he wanted, something he could point at and call me unstable. I stayed flat, controlled. "You picked a woman with a ring on her finger," I said. "Now you're going to deal with what that costs." His jaw flexed. "You don't want to do this. You'll embarrass yourself." I nodded once like I'd heard him. Then I took my phone out and tapped the message I'd already drafted. Clean packet. A few screenshots. A timeline. Enough to be undeniable without being theatrical. Logan's eyes flicked down, and for the first time his confidence hesitated. "What are you doing?" "Ending the story you started," I said. I hit send. To his wife. And 2 work emails I'd pulled from the company directory. Logan's phone buzzed on the hall table inside. Once, twice, then again like an alarm that wouldn't shut off. His face went tight. "You can't." He lunged 1 step forward like he might grab me, then stopped himself. Cameras, neighbors, the whole brochure life watching. The front door behind him opened wider. A woman appeared. Blonde hair, sweatshirt, tired eyes that sharpened instantly when she saw his expression. "Logan?" she said, voice unsteady. "Who is Ashley?" Logan turned halfway to her, caught between lies and panic. "It's not." I didn't gloat. I didn't smile. I didn't even look at him anymore. I looked at her, kept my voice respectful. "Ma'am, I'm sorry you're finding out like this," I said. "But you deserved the truth more than I deserved the lie." Her hand went to her mouth. She stared at him like he'd changed shape. Logan's eyes snapped back to me. Pure hate now, the kind that shows up when a man loses control of his own image. I held his gaze one last time. "Consequences," I said. Just that. Then I turned and walked back down his path. past the toys, past the staged perfection, leaving him on his porch with his phone buzzing and his real life collapsing in real time. Raven Creek didn't wait for facts. Pick teams. By the time the summer festival rolled around, the story had mutated into something convenient for people who hated discomfort. I was the unstable vet. Ashley was the sweet girl who made a mistake. Logan was a good family man who got caught up. Two guys pushed it the hardest, Brian Keller and Kyle Dawson. Brian owned the local pharmacy and had that smug civic leader grin that made people trust him. Kyle was an accounting guy with clean hair and dirty habits, always hovering near other people's wives like it was a hobby. They didn't say it to my face at first. They said it where it traveled. So I stopped letting it travel. I walked up to the festival coordinator the day before and asked for 5 minutes on stage. I didn't explain. I didn't plead. I just said, I need to correct a public lie. She hesitated, small-town fear, but she nodded. On the day of, the festival smelled like grilled meat and sunscreen. Kids ran around with sticky hands. Couples pretended everything was normal. The band finished a set, and my name came over the speakers. A few heads turned like they expected a show. I stepped onto the stage with no notes, no smile, just a calm face and a straight spine. The mic was warm from the last guy's jokes. I didn't joke. I'm not here to argue with rumors, I said. Rumors don't need proof. Truth does. The crowd went quieter than I expected. People leaned in, not out of empathy, out of appetite. I ended my engagement because I was tagged in a photo of my fiancée on another man's lap. I continued. I didn't speculate. I documented. I let that word hang, documented, like a weight. I'm not going to share private messages on a stage. I'm not going to turn this into entertainment. But I am going to say this. Anyone calling me unstable is repeating a lie that protects the wrong people. A ripple moved through the crowd. Not applause. Recalibration. And to the folks spreading it, I added, eyes scanning until I found Brian and Kyle near the beer tent, both pretending they weren't listening. If you're going to throw stones, be sure your hands are clean. Kyle's face tightened. Brian's smile slipped for half a second. I kept my voice even. My military service doesn't make me dangerous. It makes me disciplined. If you don't understand the difference, that's your problem, not mine. Then I stepped back from the mic. No rant, no emotion spills, no begging for belief, just a correction. As I walked off stage, the crowd did what crowds do when they smell real truth shift. People started whispering different whispers now, the kind that travel toward the guilty instead of away from them. And then Logan showed up. He came through the crowd like a man trying to reassert control over a story he no longer owned. Red-faced, jaw working, he looked straight at me like I'd ruined his life instead of exposing it. You think you're a hero? He shouted, loud enough to yank attention back to him. That was the mistake. Not the yelling, his need to be seen. I didn't step toward him. I didn't square up for the show. I just angled my body, kept distance, hands open where everyone could see. Go home, Logan, I said, calm, clear. He shoved closer anyway, chest out, trying to bait me into giving him the headline he needed. You! He started, voice cracking with rage. A security volunteer moved in, unsure. A couple men from the crowd grabbed Logan's arm. Not to protect me, but to stop the spectacle. Logan jerked against them like a trapped animal. The perfect public image tearing at its own leash. I didn't touch him. I didn't have to. The town watched him unravel in broad daylight, and they finally saw what I'd been dealing with. Noise pretending to be power. He got dragged back toward the parking lot, still spitting words, still trying to make me the villain. I stood there, breathing steady, and let the moment do what it does. It taught people the difference between rage and discipline. After the festival, the town started acting like it had always been on the right side. That's how Raven Creek worked. Late to truth, quick to pretend. Brian Keller stopped showing up in public for a while. Rumor said there were questions about his books, his inventory, things that don't survive scrutiny. Kyle Dawson got real quiet too. Work problems, HR whispers, a sudden need to keep his head down. People who throw stones usually do it because they don't expect anyone to turn the lights on. Richard Carter did what men like Richard do. He pulled strings, made calls, smoothed surfaces. Ashley vanished from town a week later. Helping family, needing space. The real reason was simple. The Carter name couldn't afford her staying where everyone could connect the dots. I didn't celebrate any of it. I just got tired of breathing the same air as the lie. So I sold the house. I signed the construction business over to my foreman, Chris Miller. Good worker, solid man, steady hands. I kept it clean, kept it fair. No scorched earth. Just exit. The only thing I took that mattered was my dog, Ranger. He rode shotgun like he understood the mission. Colorado felt honest the first morning I woke up there. Boulder wasn't perfect, no place is, but the mountains didn't care who your father was. Work was straight. People said what they meant more often than not. I took contracts, rebuilt my routine, and let the quiet do its job. Scrub out the old noise. A few weeks in, I met Lauren Hayes in the hallway of my building. Early 30s, sharp eyes, calm voice. No flirt games, no performative charm. Just a woman carrying a toolbox and talking about a leaky pipe like it was a solvable problem. "You do construction?" she asked, glancing at my hands. "Yeah." She nodded. "Good. The landlord's useless. You want paid work? I've got a list." That was the first conversation. Normal. Adults. Clean. Life started stacking back into something that held weight. Then the warning came through Matt, back in Raven Creek. "Richard's been asking around. Matt told me on the phone. Drinking hard. Blaming you. Says you ruined his daughter's life." I stared out at the flat line of the mountains in the distance. "I didn't ruin anything," I said. "I revealed it. Just be aware," Matt said. "He's not handling being powerless." "I'm not in his reach anymore," I said, and I meant it. A month later, a letter showed up in my mailbox. No return address, but I recognized the handwriting immediately. Ashley. I didn't open it right away. I set it on the counter, fed Ranger, washed my hands, and waited until my mind was calm enough to read without giving her any part of me she didn't deserve. The letter wasn't angry. It wasn't manipulative. It didn't ask for money or forgiveness or a second chance. It was an apology, not the kind that begs, the kind that finally admits. She wrote about fear, about selfishness, about how she liked being wanted by two lives at once. She wrote that she hated herself for what she did. She wrote that her father couldn't fix what she broke. A week after that, she asked to see me. Just once. Passing through Denver on her way somewhere else. I agreed, not because I missed her, but because I don't leave questions alive if I can bury them clean. We met at a coffee place downtown. She looked smaller than I remembered. Not physically, just diminished. Like the confidence she wore in that photo had finally rotted off. She stood when I walked in. Her eyes were red but steady. "Jack," she said. "Ashley." She swallowed. "I'm sorry." I watched her for a long second, reading for angles. There weren't any. Just exhaustion and regret. "I believe you," I said. Her shoulders loosened like she'd been holding a breath for a year. "I don't expect anything. I just needed you to know it was real." "It is," I said. "And it doesn't change anything." She nodded once, accepting the boundary like it hurt but made sense. "I understand." We sat in silence for a moment. Not romantic, not soft, just two people facing the final shape of what happened. When I stood to leave, she spoke again. Quiet. "Do you hate me?" I looked at her, and the answer surprised even me. "No," I said. "I don't give you that much space anymore." Her eyes filled, but she didn't argue. Outside, the Colorado sun hit my face like something clean. The Ranger would be waiting. Work would be waiting. A life that didn't require me to doubt my own reality. Betrayal didn't end me. It redirected me. Toward a place where the air was clear, the ground was solid, and the only promises I kept were the ones worth keeping.
Subscribe and stay one step ahead of cheaters. And trust me, the next story makes this one look like a fairy tale.